Okay, here is your January 2016 Transition PD review. We covered two hot topics today, the new invitation and the new requirements for the independent living goals. Okay, so let's make sure everyone understands where to click on the invitation and how to add in agency involvement. That independent living skills are not just for life skills anymore, who should have them, and how do you write those goals with correct services and activities. Start out with that IEP invitation. Remember that the new invitation has two areas that have changed slightly, so we need to make sure that you're using all of the areas correctly, checking the right boxes, inviting the right people. So the student must be invited to the meeting if they're over the age of 14 or will be turning 14 during this period. If they are of transition age, we need to make sure that we are inviting them and that it is very evident on the new invitation. So where do you click in Sapphire to make this happen? Here's where you click. You need to be making sure you're clicking the legal guardian and that you're printing their address. You then need to click at the top here and make sure you're clicking on the student. And you can do their address, phone number as it shows up. Okay, but by doing this, it does not automatically include the student anymore. You need to come down here to where you have the IEP team roles. Okay, and where you're going to be putting all of the teachers' names, the LEA, all of those, there is now a link here for child. Okay, when you first come into the program, it'll say that the student is not invited. When you click on invite, then it will have the student's name show up and there'll be a button over here to uninvite. Okay, so this is what it should look like. If it says that the student is not invited, you need to remember to check this invite box. Okay, so the student's name should show up just like all the rest of the team members on the invitation if you have done it correctly. Okay, there are varying ideas about what you do for an annual IEP meeting. And I'm not sure, but we believe that either one is correct. You can either check the discuss possible changes to the IEP, or you can click down here to the other box and say that you're holding an annual IEP meeting. The big thing that we want to cover in this training is that both of these transition boxes must be checked. Okay, so make sure you're checking that transition planning and then coming down and clicking transition services. We're going to go over and review again what you write under transition services since it says that somebody needs to be invited. Do not forget that both of these boxes must be checked. Okay, so we have agency involvement. You've been given this handout. We want to make sure that you're using it. Follow the steps in this handout. We need to be having stronger agency involvement presence documented in our IEP and in the lives of our students. Okay, so anytime you get a new student, start off right away with the legal guardian having these conversations. If it's a student that you've had for a while, make sure as soon as you can that you start to have these conversations. You want to have them at least 2 months before the IEP meeting. You want to give the parents a chance to act on the information that you're trying to give them. So maybe you can invite some representatives to the meeting. Okay, so start collecting this information, start documenting it. Make sure you have good notes in Athena and in your own records that you have been having these conversations and getting the information into the hands of the parents. Using the secondary transition website, collecting that information about the Centers for Independent Living, and giving them the information for Pennsylvania Youth Leadership Network if you feel like that is a good fit for this student. Then make sure you're getting the information into the hands of the parents. Like I said, K-mail them. Make sure that they have them. Follow up with them by phone if you feel like it's a family who doesn't check K-mail or email. Call them, make sure you let them know that this information is important. Remind them that school services stop once they graduate from high school. So if they want to have more people supporting them like the school has done up until this point in their life, after the student graduates from high school, they're going to need to have some other agencies involved. Okay, and then here's just a reminder. We understand things are going to be a little different for 14 and 15-year-olds. Yes, we can say agencies are not involved because the student is young. Um, so OVR will not open a case for a student until they're at least 16. A lot of times it's closer to graduation, but we need the students that are 16 or older to be considering this. Okay, we need to strongly encourage agency involvements for these students. We need to be inviting at least OVR and the local MHID case managers to the IEP meeting. Okay, we're not able to invite agencies without parent consent, but we do not need to have an open case at the time of the meeting. That's a change from what used to happen. Okay, we need to have the parents say yes, they can come, but we do not need to have them have an open case in order to invite the representative to the meeting. Be sure to add these agencies to the invitation if the parent agrees, even if they can't attend. PDE is looking for strong evidence of school effort to promote success in transition. Okay, we need to be making sure this happens, and then document all of the attempts in your present levels of transition under that agency involvement heading. Okay, here are the Sapphire examples. How do you make this happen? Well, you check both boxes like we said, and then there's two different options here of what you would be putting. One would say if they're young or the parent has refused that there's no agency involvement at this time. Okay, and then you can put in here, or if there is a representative to invite, you would put who it is that you've invited. In this case, the student's Cumberland County Children and Youth Services case manager was invited. Make sure you have the parent approval for anything that you do. Okay, and then list that person on the demographics page, telling everyone that they've been invited. Okay, community agency rep or something like that is, I believe, what you put it under, and you have the person's name listed on the invite. Even if they're not able to attend, you have attempted to invite them. And we then have documentation of it. Here is where it goes. Here's the present levels of transition section. You know that you already have these other headings in here. We've been asking you to do these first four all along. We're now asking you to add a fifth heading. Add a heading that says agency involvement and detail everything that you have done to try to get agencies involved with this student. Okay, so if agencies are involved, tell us that. If you've given them information about agencies, tell us that. Okay, let us know what you're doing to get agencies involved with this student. And it's very, very important, as I said, for students that are 16 and older. Okay, then it brings us to independent living goals. Okay, it is always, independent living goals are always kind of tricky. The main thing that we need to remember is that, and that we're reflecting on, is given the data that we have, what do we know about the student, those current skills assessments that we've been doing? Do we anticipate that the student will need support to prepare to meet her goals for living in and accessing the community, whether independently, with family support, or with agency support? Will they need something? Okay, so if the answer is yes, then they have a goal. No, they don't have a goal. Okay, remember that the guidelines have changed for this. It used to just pretty much be if they didn't have physical disabilities and they were an itinerant student, we just said that they were no. Okay, we need to make sure that we're reviewing those red flags and remembering what these red flags are in order to determine, does the student really need to have a goal? Because they might. If they honestly are great, they're independent, they're already doing many things for themselves, the family feels like, yeah, they're going to be fine, they're going to go off to college, or they're just going to go out and get their own apartment, it is absolutely acceptable to still use the blurb that we had been all along if we're marking it as no, based on the information detailed in present levels, and making sure that you've detailed it in present levels, that the team has determined that there is not a goal needed at that time. Totally acceptable. But what are those red flags? Those red flags are these are the possible indicators that you might need it. Okay. Our ES students, we know behavior and discipline problems can be a red flag that they might need an independent living goal. Communication issues, difficulty managing materials or assignments, managing time or money, managing healthcare needs. Are they a teen parent? Are they currently pregnant? Is children and youth involved? Why are they involved? It might be something to consider. And does the student have substance abuse issues? Okay, these are the red flags to keep in mind. These things may mean that the student might need a goal. If the team determines that a goal is needed, here's some examples for you to use. These are right out of the cheat sheet. Make sure you're using that cheat sheet if you need some help with wording. We want to make sure that in the present level section, you're always including some sort of blurb about what they're going to be doing and how they're going to be living after high school. Many, I would assume most of our students are going to be living independently once employed is what we're writing. Okay, or possibly they're still living at home if they have special service needs. So for most of our itinerant students, even if they do need a goal, our independent living goal will just be after graduation, completion of their chosen training program. Student has a goal to live independently once employed. We then need to make sure our services and activities align with a goal. These are probably students that already have some sort of behavioral goal in their IEP, like increasing their self-advocacy skills or increasing their coping skills. Here's an example of something that could be written for a teen parent or somebody who's pregnant, making sure that they research human service programs and child care options to assist with parenting skills after graduation. Okay, what are they going to do with those parenting skills? Okay, if it's somebody that just needs to increase coping skills and they want to, they need help with budgeting, or they've told you that there's a number of things on the current skills assessment they don't know how to do, you can say that they're going to be enrolled in a transition course. We're working very hard to have transition courses in place next school year for every grade level 7 through 12. So at this point, we feel pretty comfortable with you guys saying that during the term of any new annual IEP coming this way, we'll be going into next school year. So by next school year, we will have this course in place so that you can write that. The special services independent living goals. These look a little different. Again, this is right from your cheat sheet, special services team. Here's some background. We just went over all of this. If you have any questions about how to write a goal, certainly reach out to Mara, and we'll make sure that you continue to build this area as well. Okay, here's our final reminders. The whole IEP is about transition, not just those two areas. Be sure you include all of the items in the first paragraph of your present levels. There's a reminder from the December PD. PDE is looking for transition assessment results and documented progress in the present levels. All students must have at least 2 goals out of the 3 goals areas on the transition grid. Always double check that the measurable annual goal is checked yes if there is a goal in that area. For most students, post-secondary and employment will be marked yes. Put an asterisk before services that relate to IEP goals. So if it directly relates to a measurable annual IEP goal, it must have an asterisk before that service. Do not repeat services in the grid if the student has multiple goals. So if they have math goals and writing goals, you can put improve math skills under post-secondary and then put improve reading skills under the employment goal. Just don't repeat them if you don't have to. Do not list student or learning coach in the person agency responsible. Academic goals should not list the transition teacher. Whatever you write in an IEP, Agora is responsible for providing within that IEP year. So be careful with your wording. Don't say that we're going to take them to visit a college. LEAs will be looking for these new requirements along with your directors, assistant directors in all newly written IEPs. So make sure you are doing these new things that we have pushed out. Special education teachers are the primary persons responsible for making sure transition services happen for a student. Transition teachers do not need to be invited to every IEP meeting, but we will gladly attend if you need that extra support. But you are their main source of transition. So please reach out to us if you have any questions.